Welcome to the DiaryBook tutorial where we talk about setting up your DiaryBook account. This tutorial is for account owners and administrators and goes through all the main settings required to get you and your users started. While you do need to be an account administrator to access the settings screens, this tutorial can be helpful for all users in how to get the most out of using the system. So we're going to look at adding your colleagues to DiaryBook, customizing your appointment types, adding resources and waiting rooms, maintaining block times, then the all-important reminder settings, and finally sender IDs. So let's begin. There are 4 types of users that you can have on your DiaryBook account. Standard users are able to view and manage their own appointments only. Level 1 users are the same but can also see the appointments of all the other users. Level 2 users can see, create, and edit appointments for all users. Account administrators have access to the entire account, that is, all the settings and all the appointments. This graphic is for service providers, so what are they? Well, when making an appointment and picking who the client is coming in to see, the list only shows the users on the account who are service providers. So non-service providers are DiaryBook users who don't have appointments. In this case, a standard user would be a waste as they could not see or do anything. A level 1 non-service provider can only view appointments and do nothing else. So it is common to find people in admin roles in organizations to be added to DiaryBook as either a level 2 non-service provider or an account administrator non-service provider. So let's look and see how to add a new user. To view your users, go to the Settings button and choose DiaryBook Setup and Users. The screen appears under a new tab at the top. The main screen shows your list of users, above which is a toolbar to manage this list. At the bottom of the screen is another list for user groups or departments, an optional way of cataloging users in large organizations. I'm going to add a new user by clicking the Add icon on the toolbar. In the user window, I'm going to enter Alex's details, his first and last name, as well as his email address. The email address is important as Alex will automatically be sent a welcome email which he can use to access DiaryBook. There is also a tick box I could tick if I wanted Alex to be an account administrator. A second tick box indicates whether Alex is a service provider or not. When I click Save, Alex is added to the list and will receive a welcome email from DiaryBook. So I just added user Alex as a standard service provider, but I want Alex to be able to view and alter the appointments of other users. To do this, I need to edit Alex's user record and make him a level 2. To edit a user, highlight the record and click the pencil icon in the toolbar. The window appears allowing you to change the user details. The user ID is showing as the user's email address, which is set and cannot be altered. Fields such as the phone and mobile are optional, but note we are on the General tab and that there are more settings behind the other tabs at the top. Sender IDs relate to the sender's name or mobile number of an SMS text message. When the user is manually sending a text message in DiaryBook, the default sender ID specified here will be auto-selected. Reminder profiles are settings that you, the account administrator, create to control how appointment reminders are sent. When adding an appointment for this user, the Remind Client Using field will be auto-selected with Physio replies. Message notifications are an advanced monitoring feature reserved for special scenarios that are not covered here. The Departments tab is where you can optionally assign the user to one or more departments. The Opening Hours tab holds a schedule of the user's work hours. When you create a user, a setting is added for 9 AM to 5 PM, Monday to Friday. DiaryBook will only allow an appointment be made for this user within the open hours schedule. To demonstrate, I'll change Alex's schedule as he doesn't work Wednesday mornings. I'll edit the existing record and remove Wednesday. Then I'll add a new record for Wednesday 2 to 5 p.m. Last of all is the Advanced User Settings tab with the Appointment Access setting. If you remember, I wanted to make Alex a Level 2 user, and this is where I do it. 0 means the user can't access other users' appointments. 1 means they can see other users' appointments. 2 means they can see and change other users' appointments. I'm going to put in 2 here and click Save. So that's my colleague Alex set up as a Level 2 user and ready to use DiaryBook. All Alex needs to do now is follow the link from his welcome email. But it doesn't always go that smoothly. For example, Alex might be on holidays, and when he returns, the link in his email has expired for security reasons. Or Alex's email may not be working yet if he's new to your organization. Or maybe Alex cannot find the email. In all of these cases, the welcome email should be resent from this screen. To do this, highlight the user in the list, open the Users menu, go to Admin, and choose Send Welcome Email. Now just a note on password management. At the time of recording this tutorial, there are still options on the user screen for changing or resetting a user's password. Please ignore these. They'll soon be removed as the policy is changing whereby users manage their own credentials. If a user forgets their password or wants to change their password, direct them to the sign-in screen. There, they can click on the Reset Your Password link, which will guide them through the steps of setting a new password. Appointment types describe the reason for an appointment. Setting up the appointment types is an important step for you, the account administrator. The list should include the types of appointments that all the users of your DiaryBook might need to use. It is another way that you can not only formalize how appointments are entered, but can help DiaryBook users by speeding up the appointment making process. When a user is making an appointment, the types are listed under the For drop-down option, as in what is the appointment for. When the type is selected, the duration is auto-filled and optionally so is the waiting room. This helps in accuracy and speed of appointment adding. So we know that you need to create a list of appointment types and that the appointment types have a duration. So why is that important? The appointment time is the time the client is asked to turn up for their appointment. But duration is not for the client, it's for the user. It's not necessarily the duration that the client will be seen, but it should reflect the time before the next appointment can be made for that DiaryBook user. It could be for admin time at the end of the appointment or preparation time for the next. To manage appointment types, go to the Settings button and choose DiaryBook Setup and Appointment Types. The screen appears under a new tab at the top. The main screen shows a list of appointment types, above which is a toolbar to manage this list. I'm going to add a new type by clicking the green Add icon in the toolbar. The type is called Consultation, but I know my users have 2 types of consultation appointments. One is 30 minutes and one is a full hour. So I'm going to call this one Consultation 30 so my users know which one is which. I enter the appointment duration as minutes, and as I'm using the optional waiting room feature, I'll add it here for convenience. You can assign a color to an appointment type so that it stands out in the calendar screen. Now I'll add my 60-minute consultation type. So now when one of your users is adding an appointment, they will see both types of consultations in the For drop-down list. You may be wondering about waiting rooms. They're on another screen and are dealt with in the Rooms and Equipment segment. For now, just know you can edit appointment types by highlighting the relevant one and clicking the Edit icon in the toolbar. Rooms and Equipment is the area in DiaryBook that deals with any bookable place or object in your organization. For example, it could be a room where a meeting is held, a medical device, or some other piece of equipment necessary for the appointment. Whatever it is, it can be booked in along with the client and the user. DiaryBook will prevent overlaps with other appointments that need the same resources. Rooms and Equipment is also where you can set up your waiting rooms, another optional feature. Waiting rooms are different because they can be used by multiple appointments at the same time, and so can't be reserved. But waiting rooms have a maximum capacity, and this can be limited further if there are social distancing rules in place. DiaryBook can help control the number of appointments using a waiting room at any given time. So to recap, under Rooms and Equipment, you have things that can be reserved for the appointment, such as the room it's held in, equipment needed, or any other resource, including people. And you have waiting rooms. They can't be reserved, but they do have limits. To view your resources, go to the Settings button and choose DiaryBook Settings and Rooms and Equipment. The screen appears showing a list of your rooms and equipment, above which is a toolbar to manage this list. To add a resource, click on the Add button in the toolbar. In the box provided, only the description field is needed. Here, type in the name of the room or the piece of equipment. If you have multiples of something, like 10 pulse ox machines, each one needs to be entered separately, maybe with a number after it. Click Save. When adding a waiting room, you do the same again, but this time you use all the fields. When you tick the box saying that this is a waiting room, the capacity and wait time fields become available. If you don't want to set any limits for the waiting room, leave these values at 0. The capacity is the number of appointments the waiting room can service at any given moment. The wait time is the average time in minutes a client could be waiting. I'm entering 10 appointments for the capacity and 15 minutes average wait time. So when a user makes an appointment, say for 3:45, DiaryBook will look at how many appointments have already been made 15 minutes either side of that time. If the number of appointments is 10 or over the waiting room's capacity, the user will be prevented from saving the appointment. To edit a record, simply highlight it in the list and click the pencil icon in the toolbar. Make your change and click Save. Now when your users are adding appointments to DiaryBook, they can optionally book one or more resources and select a waiting room. When an appointment is added for a service provider, the date and time is checked so that it falls within the user's work hours, that it doesn't overlap with another appointment for that user, that resources for the appointment are not already booked, and that the waiting room selected is available. But what about other times that appointments can't be taken, such as meetings, training sessions and holidays? That's where block times are used. To view the block times, go to the Settings button and choose DiaryBook Setup and Block Times. The screen opens under a new tab showing a list of all block times, above which is a toolbar to manage this list. To add a block time, click the Add icon on the toolbar. In the window provided, enter the reason for the block time and the date and time range of the block. In this example, Matthew is going on a week's holiday, so I set the start date of the holiday, which happens to be Monday. I can leave the time at 00. Then the end date. I can be precise and choose Friday at 5 p.m, or I can select Saturday and leave the time at 00. I click the user that the block affects Then click Save, and the time is added to the list. No users can add any appointments for Matthew during that week. Now I'm going to add a training session which lasts only for part of a day. So the start and end dates are the same, and the start and end time determine the length of the block. I don't select a user here so that all users are affected by the block. To edit a block time, simply highlight the record and click the pencil icon in the toolbar. We can see the mandatory training entry in the list for the 23rd. Users will see this on the appointment screen for the 23rd as a wavy line entry. More importantly, it will prevent appointments being made that overlap this time. Reminder settings is where you tell DiaryBook how and when you want to remind your clients of their appointments. As the account administrator, you decide what information about the client to store to enable reminders to be sent. For example, for SMS text reminders, the client record should have their mobile phone number. Likewise, an email address for email reminders, a landline number for automated voice calls, and a postal address for letters. This should be communicated to any users who will add clients onto your account. Each appointment made on DiaryBook can be assigned a single reminder setting. The setting determines the methods used to remind the client, the content of the reminders, when the reminders are sent, and any other related options. Appointment reminders are automatically sent based on a schedule that you set. In this example, we have a client with an appointment on the 19th. As each day goes by, DiaryBook checks the reminder schedule. Here, 2 weeks before the appointment, it creates an appointment letter for the client. But the appointment setting can have many scheduled events. Here, as we reach to 7 days before the appointment, an email reminder is sent. When we reach 2 days before the appointment, a text message is sent out. And finally, in this busy example schedule, 1 day before the appointment, DiaryBook rings the client and speaks the appointment reminder down the phone. So while this is clearly an over-the-top schedule, it should show you that you can decide what and when to send. You may, for example, only want to use SMS, but you could decide to send 2 reminders. The first a week before, to get some advanced warning from those who can't make it, and the second 1 day before, to help prevent them from forgetting it. It's really up to you. You can set up a simple generic reminder setting for all your users, or for each location that users on your account operate from, for example to have directions. You can even have a reminder setting specially tailored to each user. This would be a lot of work to maintain for larger accounts. To manage reminder settings, go to the Settings button and choose DiaryBook Setup and Reminder Settings. The screen appears under a new tab, but note that the screen itself has 2 tabs, Reminder Settings and Templates. Let's start with Templates. Here you'll see a list of your SMS text message templates. Each template has a name and the message itself. The template is the message that is sent to the client's mobile phone. Note that it contains merge fields. These start and end with double carets and are replaced with actual information about the client and the appointment. For example, name is replaced with the client's name, and time is replaced with the time of the appointment. If adding a new template, it is easier to copy the text from an existing one and edit it. So I'll highlight a template, click the edit icon in the toolbar, highlight the message and Ctrl+C to copy the text. Next I click the add icon and Ctrl+V to paste the text. Finally I just give the template a name and edit the text. Note that the message asks the client to reply. If you do this, any reminder setting using this template should have replies enabled. We'll do this in a moment. Now that our template is created, we go to the Reminder Settings tab and click the Add Icon button on the toolbar. Here we give the reminder setting a name, something that your users will understand. Ticking Send Text Reminders activates SMS. In Replies Sender ID, we select Replies to DiaryBook because we asked in the text message for a reply. Another option would be to select your organization's name, but this prevents the client from replying. In text message, we pick the template we just created. The main mobile option tells DiaryBook to only send the reminder to the primary mobile number in the client record and to ignore the parent guardian mobile. The days in advance number is the number of days before an appointment to send the reminder, one being the day before, etc. The No Text at Weekends option simply instructs DiaryBook to not send reminders at the weekend. Finally, the time of day field is the earliest time in the day that DiaryBook is allowed to send the reminder. On the right-hand side, we can activate email reminders and set the number of days in advance and the time of day for those. Currently, to set up voice and letter appointment reminders, you need to contact DiaryBook support. If I edit the reminder setting by highlighting it and clicking the pencil icon, you'll see that it's slightly different. There are fields that are grayed out and we have a list at the bottom with a toolbar. This list is the schedule. The grayed out fields which I used when adding the setting told DiaryBook how to create the schedule. Once created, we can edit the schedule records directly. Here there are two records, one for email and one for SMS reminders. I'll edit the SMS schedule record. Here you can change the earliest time in the day the reminder can be sent, the reminder type the schedule acts on, the trigger, this is how the reminder is triggered. Normally it is the number of days before the appointment, but there are two other options, hours before the appointment and the day the appointment is made. Then the number of days or hours before the appointment. Next we have the 7 days of the week. They're all ticked here, which means the schedule will work for appointments on any day. This means you can adjust the reminder schedule based on the day of the appointment. At the bottom are a couple of advanced options. The first lets the schedule record use a different message template to the overall reminder setting. The second tells DiaryBook to send the reminder even if the client has already confirmed the attendance. Once you've created your reminder setting, your users will be able to choose it when making appointments under the Remind Client Using option. Sender IDs relate to SMS text messaging. When you send a text from your mobile phone, the sender ID is your mobile number. This allows the receiver to reply to your message and vice versa. When DiaryBook sends an appointment reminder by text message, the sender ID is also a mobile number and replies are received back to the calendar. But you can instruct DiaryBook to not allow replies. In that case, the sender ID must be the name of the sender. The recipient sees the name but cannot reply. If you decide to allow replies to your SMS appointment reminders, then you don't need a custom sender ID. However, if you do want a custom sender ID, please be aware that the ID must be related to your organization's name or activity. You're restricted to a maximum of 11 characters, and every ID needs to be authorized by DiaryBook before it can be used. To view your sender IDs, go to the Settings button, choose DiaryBook Setup and Sender IDs. The screen shows a list of IDs and their authorization status. To add one, click the Add icon in the toolbar. In the box provided, select SMS ID and type in the name you want to use. Here I'm putting Physio Center with the last E chopped off because I can only use 11 characters. When I click Save, it's added to the list with pending showing as the status. It is pending approval by DiaryBook. When the ID is approved, and please note this can take a full business day, the status will change to confirmed. So now you can add or edit a reminder setting, and under Replies/Sender ID, you can choose your new ID. In this example, I'm changing the reminder setting from allowing replies to using a sender ID which prevents replies. To avoid confusing my clients, it would be wise for me to also change the text of the reminder so that it's not asking them to reply. There are two settings that are not covered by this tutorial, and you may have seen them in the DiaryBook setup menu: Message Keywords and Clinic Sync. When DiaryBook receives replies to text appointment reminders, it uses keywords to understand what the reply means and whether the client is confirming or possibly cancelling the appointment. But there are rare scenarios where custom keywords are required. For example, a COVID questionnaire, where the word positive, meaning tested positive for COVID, was a negative response, and the word negative was a positive response. In this case, the account administrator was able to add custom keywords so DiaryBook would understand the responses. Clinic sync settings are used when other software packages sync their appointments calendar with DiaryBook so that they can leverage DiaryBook's advanced suite of appointment reminder options. And that concludes this tutorial. You should now be able to customize DiaryBook in order to optimize appointment making and client attendance. Look out for other Spotlight tutorials that do a deep dive into some of the features. Your users can gain a deeper understanding and learn to get even more out of using DiaryBook.